going on, everybody? This is Kayinus. How you guys doing? And today is a really important video. Today we're going to be talking about the M3D printer and how we are going to make this printer a pretty decent one. A lot of people are having problems with it. It's an FDM printer. It has a lot of issues. And quite frankly, not sure if it's worth the $400 if you're starting out. But if you already got one and you want to make it better, stay tuned and I'll show you how to do that. Alright guys, so here's what you're going to need to do the modifications that I'm going to be showing you today. First thing is a 12 volt fan CPU fan, okay? You're also going to need a 12 volt power supply. You will need a Dremel or equivalent of, and also 2 pair of cutters, okay? Some close-ups have been, will be shown right now. You can go ahead and see what it is up close that I'm doing. I got a Evercool DC fan. The fan is the most important part, obviously, next to the power supply. You're going to want to get the 12 volt because probably around the house you have a 12 volt power supply. If you have a 5 volt power supply, then get a 5 volt fan. So see what you have first. If you're picking everything up from scratch on Amazon or your local electronics store, then go ahead and do that. Right now I'm going to show you some close-ups of what I did and kind of explain it. I've already done the modifications, so I'm not going to be redoing the modifications here, but I am going to be explaining why I did them and just give you some close-up shots. Alright, here we go. Okay guys, so what we're looking at is a little 12 volt fan. You can see it right there. Alright, and let's open this up. So basically what I did, and sorry if it's a little hard to see because there's a lot of black, but basically was I cut a hole, okay, on the original cover of this little M3D, and I used electric tape on this point, so again, sorry if it's a little hard to see. Basically what I did, and you can see the fan right there, so I cut a hole in the original cover, okay, and what that allowed me to do was have airflow come through, of course. And then I attached the fan, put that right there, I attached the fan on top by basically drilling some holes and bolting it down. The screws come with it. And what that's going to do is I pointed it so where the airflow is actually pulling out of the motor. Because if you see on the inside, you have this little rubber nozzle, okay, on the M3D. That's an insulator. A lot of problems, and I'll show you a little picture right now, but a lot of problems with this M3D is that there's no heat sink. A lot of really good printers have heat sinks, and that's going to allow the molten view, okay, come through, the molten area of the filament at the bottom, stay hot, and then have a gradation to cold so that the filament on top can push down and let the molten come out the nozzle. Okay, that's the general idea of how it works. So what this will allow it to do is go ahead and blow all the heat away from the nozzle, creating that gradation of heat to cold. And that's going to allow you to print. Now what I'm going to give you guys are links to Cura, because I'm going to show you my settings, give links to Cura, give you my profile, and you can download all this stuff. It works on Windows. I haven't gotten it to work on Mac, so I do apologize for any Mac users out there. I would say get VirtualBox, which is free, download Windows somehow, install it, and work on a virtual system if you're running Mac. Okay guys, so here I am in my Windows machine. I'm running Windows 7. It really doesn't matter what version of Windows you're running. I have an HP laptop that I run Windows 10 on, and I've tested it there, so I promise you it works. I just like to run my M3D off of my desktop instead of my laptop, so that's why I'm on Windows 7. Anyway, so here's my Cura profile. So the very first thing you're going to do to print the way I do and get the results that I get, so you're going to download Cura, and like I said, in the description there will be a download link for my profile, so you can go ahead, copy that, and put it in. The one thing you're going to want to do before you print anything is go to your machine settings and type on machine settings, and your maximum width, this is all in millimeters, is going to be 116. Your depth 110, because it's not a perfect square, although it looks like one, trust me, it's not. And then your height at 120. That is about as tall as you can go. Now the M3D predecessor will basically override any height adjustments it needs. So even though it can go out of the box a little bit, I try to avoid that, but you can. Just be careful not to crash your fan, because that does kind of limit that. But anyway, moving on. So once you're done with that, hit OK. And then see if I can make this just a little bit bigger, or even I'll zoom in on it. Here are my settings. Okay, so you have your layer height at about 190 and shell thickness at about 1.05. I like to have my bottom thickness at about 0.9. You can change that however. The speed is relatively slow. Now, I've seen other people run it a bit faster for the M3D, but I like to print a little slow to ensure that I get a good print quality. And now here's the most important part, guys. The temperature, okay? You probably will need to play around with this, but I have mine set at 220. The M3D natural temperature for Celsius is about 215. That's what it'll tell you the very first time you load up any type of PLA. I set it to 220 because the fan is now pulling air away from it, so the heater has to maintain that molten lava, that molten filament, at a certain temp. And if it's not going to do that, your fan can actually pull too much heat away at once. So you'll need to go ahead and play with this, guys. But go ahead and try it at 220 because that's what works for me. And then you should be good. And then after that, you can go ahead and, of course, you can load up your type of, whatever it is you want to do. I think this is the one I printed that I showed you earlier in the video. So it's loaded up. Yeah, there it is. And again, you can just scale it down. I think I printed mine at like 0.5. There we go. Bam. And there you have it. So, and there it is. And then, of course, if you haven't used Cura before, it's pretty simple. You have your layers section, which is found just right here on the top right. And I'll show you how many layers there are. Also, it'll show you if you have any overhangs or if you have any different types of support that you want to use. It does have Overhang Mode, which will let you see the bottom side. And if it's red, that means you need support. It's basically as simple as that. And then, of course, the X-ray mode, so you can kind of see your design through, etc., etc. So this is what I use. Let's say you're all done and you like those settings. Just go up to File and save G-code. And I'll just save this one to my desktop. I'll leave it. I'll just call it test. Bam. Say save. And then now this is what you'll need to do. Whoops. That's my Mac side. Don't worry, guys. Is load up your M3D at this point. Okay, we'll just minimize that. And sorry if this takes a moment. I'll speed it up here. Okay, guys. So this is what we're going to need to do is go down to the bottom section and click the spooler. And this is where we're going to control our M3D. And you can even hear it here. I'm going to type in actually, nope, not yet. I'm too high. Here, let's actually bring this down a little bit so you'll hear that it is activated. I'm not sure if you can hear that clicking in the background, but that is the M3D starting up. Now, I don't have any filament installed at the moment, but it's basically to give you a general idea of how or what you're going to need to do in order to make sure the print starts if you've never done this before. But what you'll do is, once you're all set, what I like to do is heat up the PLA. okay? I like to start heating it up first. And the reason for that is because, like cooking or anything like that, you don't want a cold stove, cold pan. It's the same difference. You want to make sure that everything gets nice and warm. So what I like to do is heat it up, and then I like to run some filament through it to ensure that it's actually flowing very nicely. And usually 15.0 will work fine. And you'll see down here at the temperature, that's actually, climbing slowly. So, and at this point, I do not turn the fan on. Because the fan is on an external power supply, I can turn it on whenever I want. I'm not going to turn it on during this process because I want to make sure that it gets nice and hot. So we're looking like, okay, it's on, set up at 210, which is its default. You can always change it if you want. And then what I do is I hit that button, and then I see if it starts spitting out, which you guys can't see. I'm not recording that part, but, you do that until it spits out. I'll also make sure to check to see if you have any clogs. When you're done, I just turn the heater off. But when you're done, you don't have to do that. You don't have to turn the heater off. Come up here and hit Add Print or Add Print Job. And then go ahead, and I have a special spot usually called G codes, but here's my test. You click that, hit open, and then you would select your PLA and then hit OK. And then it would say, would you like to use the M3D predecessors? Go ahead and hit yes. And we're going to set this aside just so you can see it. Okay. And then what will happen is it'll take a moment to compile the coding. And after the coding is compiled, it'll actually pop a little thing over here on this side. Sorry for the lag on the screen cap. My screen recorder takes a very, very long time. Okay, so then you get this little sign that says, please clean your nozzle and make sure that the print bed is clear, yada, yada, yada. Of course you don't want any accents. Hit OK, and then it's going to go ahead and center itself. You'll say, yeah, the new print job has started. Don't unplug it. Don't do anything stupid. You say, sure, no problem. And then that starts the process. And then it lowers and it redoes everything that you want it to do. And then you're done. Guys, I will say this. It takes a very, 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 very long time, unfortunately, to figure out the M3D. And I know a lot of people are having problems. I will say this. This may not be the fix for you. This may not work. But it's the closest I've ever gotten to having this thing print consistently. My issues were overheating. So if you're having different issues like cold extruding errors, you may want to check the heater. You may want to make sure that the heater is actually working fine. If you find out that your heater's not, you may have to buy a new one. I've purchased through M3D 2 sets of nozzles, a new motor because my motor had failure due to overheating, and I've practically ripped out the entire guts of this machine and put it all back together. So don't mind the clicking in the background, guys, but I do want to let you guys know that it can take a bit of time. So please stick in there, hang in there, make sure that you're doing the best you can with what you got. If you just can't get the M3D to work, or you're seeing this for the first time and you're contemplating having an M3D, I'll be honest, it may not be worth it, guys. You may want to save your money and buy a new 3D printer. That's my personal opinion. But yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I do video games, 3D printings, and live streams. So please come check me out. And subscribe if you like the video. Share with your friends. If there's any questions you guys have about the M3D, feel free to comment down below, and if I know the answer, I'll get back to you. If I don't know the answer and I can't find it, again, I'll try to get back to you and let you know that, hey, this is what's going on. So, again, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace!